The city of Hostomel and its Antonov airport became one of the initial and main targets of Russian forces during the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation against Ukraine. The airfield was supposed to provide a bridgehead for the rapid relocation of forces, armored vehicles, and supplies, and the total seizure of strategic routes towards Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. The massive use of aviation may well remain the most challenging and unsuccessful operation in the history of the Russian military. The elite Russian paratroopers were sent to capture Hostomel by nearly 40 helicopters, led by a Mi-24 helicopter, known as a flying tank for transporting troops. About 30 Mi-8 multi-purpose helicopters tailed by a K-52 Alligator, considered to be the deadliest one the Russian defense industry has ever produced. The attack was also supported by Su-25 jet aircraft and Su-24 bombers, but the Ukrainian military repelled their attack, preventing them from using the airport for its intended purpose. Ukrainian forces initially evicted the Russian airborne troops from the airport, but were soon engaged by Russian reinforcements. On February 25, 2022, the Russian forces recaptured Hostomel airport from the Ukrainians. As a result, the battle shifted from the airport to the nearby town as the Russian forces began to establish a foothold in Hostomel and press their advance. Fierce battles raged around the urban areas for a few weeks, and while the news reached the public, the situation on the ground was rapidly changing.
35 enemy's helicopters were coming from the reservoir side to us. We went into combat with them, and as a result successfully took down K-52 Alligator helicopter. Due to the combat, hangar with Mriya airplane was damaged. Ruslan airplane's hangar on the right side is damaged as well. On the runway's left side, there is one more attack helicopter found its lost refuge. Our soldiers helped him out with landing, Mi-24 combat helicopter as well. You can see lots of debris on runway. They all belong to attack helicopters of Russian Federation. I was alerted and called to duty. I came to military unit, cruise missile hit our drill square, and that was a starting point for us. We've got equipped and advanced to the airfield to check outposts. Determined the operations for the outposts, establishing the protocols for different scenarios, and after that we returned to our unit. It was around 10:30 AM when first helicopters flew in.
During the battles for Hostomel Airport, the hangar housing the world's largest aircraft, the unique AN-225 Mriya, was destroyed. The neighboring hangar, which sheltered the AN-124 Ruslan, also suffered damage from Russian unguided aviation missiles. The core of the tactical group of guardsmen consisted of conscripts, young but professionally trained soldiers within the National Guard's Hostomel Brigade. Using towed anti-aircraft guns and manpads, the guardsmen shot down 6 Russian helicopters.
My conscripts, anti-aircraft gunners, had spotted an enemy helicopter, opened fire and shot it down within approximately 10-15 seconds, and the main forces moved in. K-52, 2 aircrafts, Su-24 and Su-25 were covering the helicopters. They were approaching, then striking, and moving back beyond the horizon. And then the Ka-52 helicopters were clearing the landing zone for the airborne. So the Mi-8s were approaching to deploy the airborne. They were disembarking, and their task was to seize the landing zone on the airfield in order to bring in the main forces later on, specifically the Il-76 aircrafts, which were supposed to land here and deploy the main forces. It is probably around 1 brigade or even more. It includes heavy equipment, forces and resources to continue the advance directly towards the capital. We entered into combat. Approximately 6 helicopters were destroyed. 3 were irreparably damaged, and 3 made emergency landings. 1 landed in a field because it couldn't continue the fight, as it was shut down, and 2 more helicopters were also forced to land, because they could no longer continue the battle. We held the defense until we ran out of man-pads. Then the unit commander ordered the withdrawal of personnel from the location to minimize losses.
In addition to the National Guard, units of other military formations and special forces were involved in the airport defense. The Guardsmen, together with the armed forces units, used artillery fire to eliminate the enemy positions and strongholds. They also conducted a massive artillery strike on the airport's runway that prevented the enemy from landing military transport planes EL-76 with heavy equipment and personnel by damaging the runway with artillery fire.
The 95th Brigade, our paratroopers, entered the battle with their helicopters. Using UARs, they destroyed their equipment and manpower. They held them off for several days, but eventually they were also forced to retreat. Then Kadyrovцы arrived here, recorded their TikToks, but in the evening our SOF eliminated them. Hostomel was like a relay that changed hands over the course about 10 days, and when the columns massively entered here, Hostomel fell under occupation. This is one of the helicopters that took part in the attack on February 24th. This one has attacked the airport in our brigade. Well, as you can see, it was shut down by our anti-aircraft system. And as you can see, it was somewhat disposed of along with the crew. Obviously, there was a very high temperature. Take a look, everything melted, except for massive metal structures. This is the invincible, renowned Ka-52 Alligator, which also took part in the assault attempt on Hostomel Airport and fought our unit. It just so happened that the invincible, super strong, no analogs in the world helicopter was shot down by Igla manpads. Well, based on practical experience, their impenetrable armor didn't protect their pilots and their renowned helicopter. I guess the temperatures here reached over 1,000 degrees and it burned to a crisp. 3 Mi-8 helicopters with paratroopers, 2 Ka-52s and 1 Mi-24. Our soldiers landed all of them.
The battle for Hostomel Airport significantly slowed down the advance of the Russian forces in the first hours of the battle. While Ukrainian forces moved into the field towards the probable axis of a Russian advance, artillery was set in defensive positions outside the capital. The defense of Hostomel Airport became a key episode in the defense of Kyiv. Ukrainian defenders held back the enemy's pressure, thereby thwarting the enemy's plan to swiftly capture the capital of Ukraine. The first hours of the battle for the airport in Hostomel determined the course of a successful defense of Kyiv.